Hey everyone, I'm here with Kristina Bloom, and a little bit about Kristina. Kristina Bloom is a psychic medium and channel for the divine. For more than 2 decades, she has been facilitating individual and gallery psychic readings across the country, speaking in front of both small and large groups. The insight and wisdom of spirit easily moves through her, allowing for clear information for you, the receivers of the messages, to come through. With her light-hearted nature, Kristina continues to get confirmation from Spirit until the messages become clear to you. She is the creator and facilitator of the Intuitive You program for psychic development. As a psychic reader, Kristina uses her natural intuitive gifts to guide you in choosing your own best options by helping you to connect to your spirit guides and view every situation from a higher place. In teaching Intuitive You, Kristina understands that everyone's gifts are individual to the person and need to be nurtured as such. With the belief that everyone has intuitive abilities, she tailored the class in a way that supports each student's natural ability and provides each student the freedom along with guidance to develop their own gifts as they choose. Thanks for coming on the show, Kristina.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of fun. I do a lot of podcasts, but I never do them like in a studio.
Oh,
so
really?
They're always from, my home studio.
Well, we're professional here,
Yeah.
so
Well, that's awesome.
I know
appreciate your
you're
professionalism.
You're in Wisconsin. Here in Illinois, we do things a certain way. Okay, we care about our guests.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But speaking of, so you are from Wisconsin.
Yes, I live in Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin always came across to me as a very mystical area.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
I've been to Wisconsin a couple times, and there's a different feeling in Wisconsin versus Illinois. I think
Okay.
the Midwest in general is very spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
and each state has its own type of spirituality.
Right.
And I feel like Wisconsin has its own. I mean, you have everything from so many different ghosts to so many different mediums living there. And then you have allegedly a lot of giant bones that have been
Mhm.
discovered there.
Yeah.
I mean, you even have Jeffrey Dahmer.
I was going to say, don't forget the serial killers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we had Jeffrey Dahmer, but we also had Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you grew up in Wisconsin, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So this whole spiritual nature to Wisconsin I'm talking about, you've lived there, but like do you know what I'm talking about? Do you go to certain locations and you feel like different in these locations?
Yeah, some. I know you recently did something at Brumder Mansion.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of investigations. I did a gallery reading in the theater there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a fun place there.
Yeah.
But there's other places in Wisconsin that I think because there's such different topography.
Yeah.
And there's so much Native American history.
Sure.
That there's just, there's a lot of spirit there. There's a few native reservations. There's the Chequamegon National Forest, which is
Mhm.
huge in the northern part of the state.
And there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in that
That's
national
the
forest.
rumor.
Yep.
Yep.
You've also been in contact with Bigfoot.
Yes.
As a psychic, you've had communication with Bigfoot.
Yes.
And I know a little bit about the story of the first time you were at a woman's retreat when Bigfoot came through. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It was actually the night before the retreat started. And it was at Sacred Waterways, which is owned by my friend Gail Christensen. And Bigfoot came through me to give Gail a message.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how it started. He wanted to say thank you to her for all of the things that she's doing with the land. And the next day, during the classes, he came through again and asked if the women in his group could join our retreat because they were curious and wanted to join.
Actually, I should say Sasquatch, not Bigfoot. That's the...
Well, and up there it's Gobiji-Nini.
Ooh, what is it?
Gobiji-Nini.
Gobiji-Nini.
Yeah, I believe that's Potawatomi.
Gobiji-Nini.
Yeah.
So the Gobiji-Nini women wanted to join the
class that we
the
were
class.
doing.
Okay,
Mhm.
interesting. How did you know it was a Gobiji-Nini or Sasquatch?
They introduced themselves.
Okay. So you just like picked it up and
Yeah,
you're like,
well,
oh, this
he
is
kind of like moved through me, right? So I don't know
yeah.
if you've ever seen me because it's pretty new and I haven't done it a lot of times. But when the men channel through me,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. It's interesting because my body is a lot smaller than their energy,
Sure.
and they try to fit inside of me, and so it looks like I'm having contortions and all kinds of stuff, and it sounds like I'm growling, but in words.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting.
And that tends to be how Bigfoot communicates too, like a lot of grunts and growls.
Right.
So that would make
But when
sense.
he's channeling through me, he's got
Yeah.
my vocabulary.
He has your
He
vocabulary.
has
Okay.
access to my vocabulary.
Yeah.
So
Is
yeah.
that because you're a excuse me, you're a channeler?
Hmm.
Is that how channeling goes? That when an entity comes inside of you, they speak like they would speak your language, like your slang and stuff.
Usually it's more formal than that, but it
Okay.
really depends on who's coming through and how often they've come through. Because the more often that they channel through me, the better they get to know me, and so then they start loosening up the language a little bit. But
Oh, that's
usually it's
interesting.
usually it's pretty formal to begin with.
So it sounds more like you.
Kind of,
Okay.
kind of, but it's a little different.
That's interesting. Are you familiar with Bashar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bashar. For those that are not familiar, Bashar is an interdimensional being.
Mm-hmm.
He's an interdimensional being that inhabits this man, or on occasion,
Yeah, Daryl. What's his last
Daryl.
name?
Yeah, Daryl something.
Yeah.
But he comes to this man
Yeah.
named Daryl. He's been doing it for a couple of decades, and something you said reminded me of something that Daryl said in an
Mhm.
interview. He goes, when it first started out, like he spoke very different than how he speaks now, and it's because um, Bashar became very accustomed to Daryl's body and language. So there was a bit of a change in
Right.
how he talked. So
Right.
it seems like that's kind of what you're saying as well.
Right. Right. And if you look at Abraham, who channels through Esther Hicks.
Esther Hicks, yeah,
Yeah. He's become more casual as time has gone on too,
right.
as he's speaking through her.
So it's interesting that you have all these abilities, and oftentimes psychics, they stick to one like kind of domain, but
Mhm.
you are able to channel. You able to have dreams that come true, premonitions,
Mhm.
a lot of different things. When did it start for you?
When I was born.
When you were born, you were just born with these gifts.
I was born with it. Yeah. It was first noticed when I was a toddler,
Okay.
and I would have a dream that I walked into. At the time, was my grandparents' office. They had a home business, and I would walk into there and climb up on a ladder and pull a sheet over this lady's head after I kissed her on the cheek, and then I would wake up crying. And every time that happened, some family member I didn't even know, usually in Scandinavia, would have passed away at about the same time I have the dream.
Oh wow. Did your parents have these gifts?
My grandmother did.
Okay.
Later in life I found out I think my dad did,
Mm-hmm.
but he did everything in his power not to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he had some.
I saw you talk one time, and you made a really interesting distinction between mediumship and channeling.
Yes.
What's the difference? Because in like a layman's mind, it wouldn't be different because it's like, oh, well, you're just somebody's coming through you, but it's not that simple, is it?
Not really, no. Trance channeling, I think, is what you're referring to, right?
Okay, right.
So I literally can go into a trance and just move my consciousness out of the way, and someone else comes in and uses my body to speak. And I think the difference between that and mediumship is when I'm doing mediumship, let's say I was doing a reading for you and a loved one of yours came through, I'm more of a translator,
Sure.
kind of literally a medium between the two of you, helping you have a conversation.
So it's more like they're just talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're relating to what they're saying.
Right.
Whereas channeling, you're being inhabited. Is that fair to
Mhm.
say?
That's fair to
Inhabited
say.
by his spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always a human spirit, is it? I mean, it
No.
could be various things.
Right.
What are some of the things that it could be?
A lot of light beings. I
Okay.
have channeled a lot of light beings. Aliens, particularly Pleiadians
Okay.
that come through. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That's a recent development. Still kind of getting used to that one.
When
Those are the two big
did,
ones.
When did that one happen?
The first time it happened was almost a year ago. It was in May
Okay.
of last year.
And now you said you haven't done that too many times with them, but what do you know of them from what you have experienced?
My experience of them, first of all, I've always had a Bigfoot spirit guide.
Yeah.
Because I grew up kind of rough and I needed protection.
Sure.
So I had a protector. And it's interesting because as I remember back, and I've done some past life regression, or not past life, but early life regression, where I can remember situations where I was in danger physically, and there would be like a growl and everything stopped. Which was, and I didn't even realize, I didn't remember that until I did that regression.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why was it rough growing up?
Child abuse.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I grew up in an addicted home
Ah,
with male adaptive adults.
sure.
Yeah.
Both parents?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still talk to them?
Well, one of them's crossed over.
Okay.
So yeah, I talked to him.
Yeah.
Yes. There's been a lot of healing done.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Has there been healing that have been done?
Yeah.
Was any of the healing done while they were still alive?
Yeah. My mom is actually
Or
still
is
alive.
your mom's still alive? Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's doing a lot better?
Yeah.
And your father's, he's doing better in the afterlife now?
Yes.
Okay, well that's good.
Considerably. Yeah.
Yeah. So when that stuff would happen and you had spirit guide. By the way, you gave me a reading before and you said that I had a Sasquatch spirit guide.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But,
I love
you know,
him.
growing up and reading all about Sasquatch and just being so into the lore behind Sasquatch, it was really cool to hear that
Yeah.
potentially one of my spirit guides is Sasquatch. So
Right.
I love that.
You might have called your own in.
I might have what?
Called your own Sasquatch in, like you.
So
out
can
of
that happen?
curiosity.
Can people ask for certain spirit guides?
Mhm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mostly it's not the spirit guide itself, as in Sasquatch, but often it's like, I need help with this particular thing. Like if somebody starts college later in life and they're feeling like they're struggling with it, they can ask for spirit help. I ask for tech guides. That's the only way I'm producing any podcast at this point.
Guides?
Tech guides, yeah. I ask for technology guides because I don't have any idea what I'm doing.
And the mic appears, right?
And the mic appears.
Yeah, mic appears.
Yeah, when I pass on, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Hopefully the passing out part doesn't happen, but if you need help.
Mike is the archangel of technology.
There you go.
That's from the afterlife.
Close
He
enough.
edits.
There you go. No, but seriously, I was having trouble learning how to do some stuff, and I just finally went, okay, guides, I could really use some help with this. And a new guide showed up who could help me with it.
Yeah. Now, how does that does he talk to you? Do you actually hear the spirit guide, or
with
is it
that
more
one, it's
impressions?
more claircognizant, like ideas, like he gives me ideas.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Usually, when you talk to a spirit guide, or I should say anything, is it more impressions or is it actually talking?
Well, that depends. It depends on the
Depends.
situation. It depends on who it is. It depends. My spirit guides and I tend to have committee meetings, I guess you could call them.
Okay.
You know, where we meet in a sweat lodge. And, I'm meditating, so that's how I get to the sweat lodge. I'm meditating.
Like astrally?
Yeah.
You astral project in the
I
sweat
astral
lodge.
project into a sweat lodge with my spirit
Oh,
guides.
man, I gotta do that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
That's-
It takes a lot of concentration.
Where else can you? So you could. Now, when you do that, when you astral project in a sweat lodge, is it a actual sweat lodge in like some psychic realm?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because you've been in sweat lodges, right?
Real ones, yeah.
Yeah, me too. So when I astral project into them, I can smell the herbs that they're putting on the grandfathers.
Yeah.
I feel the heat.
Yeah.
It's a sweat lodge.
Yeah.
You know, we pass the pipe around, we say prayers. It's a whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I want to astral project inside a brothel. Could I
You
do
have
that?
fun with that.
Yeah, can you teach me how to do that? When you're in the sweat lodge with your spirit guides, they're just all like sitting there, and it's like a meeting.
Yeah.
Is that what
it's
it's
like
like?
a meeting.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And are you in a meditative state, or can you do it? Can you do it while you're working on something?
No, I have to be in a meditative state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do communicate with spirit guides, does it wear you out afterwards?
Sometimes, and sometimes I'm super energized.
Okay.
It really kind of just depends on usually what the topic is.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm asking for help with something, they'll give me all kinds of ideas. And then I come out of the meditation, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to jump on those ideas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You work with a lot of light beings,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of good beings.
Yeah.
Have you encountered anything malevolent?
I have. And that's why I work with the light beings.
Now, I know a little bit about before because you had, excuse me, you have told me how you saw a black mass.
Mm-hmm.
What was that story again?
There's been a couple of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was called to an apartment where someone kept feeling like they were being so oppressed that they couldn't function.
Mhm.
And there was a tar demon. Well, that's what I call them. I don't know what anybody else calls them. But
Yeah.
they look like black tar.
Okay.
And they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's weird. It's weird how it's almost like watching a movie. But that's when I call in the light beings. That's when I call in the archangels and the gods and the goddesses. And, you know, if it gets really bad, I call in the goddess Nyx because she doesn't take any crap off of anybody.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
she just steps right in and takes care of it. But I only call her when I absolutely need to. It's like I don't want to call on that much power if it's not necessary.
Right. When I think of a tar type being, I think of something like big and sticky. Is that what it's
And
looking
black.
like? And black.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any like facial features to it?
Not really. Sometimes I'll see eyes,
Okay.
but not usually.
Okay.
Yeah. They tend to just absorb everything,
Yeah.
you know. So that particular one had absorbed the souls of children who had passed away.
Oh wow. In that
Yeah.
apartment?
On the land before it was an apartment building.
Okay.
So it was, I believe it was one of the pandemics, like the Spanish flu or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, all kinds of people passed away.
And how? So you guys got rid of it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I stood back and watched them get rid of it.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you able to see that played out, that
Mhm.
battle?
Yeah. I'm very visual, which is sometimes really cool and sometimes not. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And how is that played out? How does the war between good and evil look like?
In that particular instance.
Yeah, in that particular instance.
I'm just trying to remember who all came in. Thor, Nyx, Odin,
A lot of Celtic gods.
Poseidon, 3 archangels, because we had Raphael, who's a healer, Archangel Michael, who is a warrior angel,
Yeah.
and Uriel, who seems to always show up with some kind of what I call a vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
Like when they're, when the other ones are taking care of, I don't know, chopping it up or whatever it takes to get it down to manageable.
Right.
He's right there just like sucking up the pieces. So
Oh, kind of like in Ghostbusters.
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch.
Well, man, that goes to show like how powerful these malevolent beings are if you have to call in all these other spirits.
Well, I
for
think
it.
what happens is that they're left to their own devices to just keep growing because people don't understand what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they get so big.
Yeah. When did you start wanting to develop your skills?
I'm going to say around 18, 19.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just newly sober, and I had been drinking my entire childhood. I was actually born intoxicated, so
Oh,
you
is
know,
that true?
it's like it's crazy how all that happens. But
Wow.
I was newly sober, and I was really struggling, and it came to me that a lot of the reason that I was drinking and doing some of the drugs that I was doing was because I didn't want to pay attention to what was coming to me.
Right.
And so I really had to come to terms with my own psychic abilities in order to stay sober and basically save my own life.
Yeah. And then at that time, in 18, was home life still not great?
I'd moved out by then.
Oh, how old were you when you moved out?
17.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where were you staying at such a young
I had
age?
got an apartment.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're living on your own, and then
Mhm.
you decide that you want to develop your abilities, so you
Well,
start
it
doing
just
that.
sort of came that way.
Oh,
like
it
it
just
wasn't
came-
really a decision. It was more I couldn't shut it off
Okay.
as easily.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't numbing myself to it, so I couldn't shut it off as easily.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so learning how to meditate, went through a health crisis at that time. So I learned more about like nutrition, which I hadn't learned about before.
What was the health crisis?
It was a precancerous condition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was learning about nutrition. I was learning about meditation. I started learning about energy healing, really paying attention to the messages that were coming to me. And it's developed over time. But yeah, that's where it started.
When you started like changing your diet and stuff like that, did the precancerous condition, did that disappear as
Mhm.
well? And it never came back?
Yeah. Never
Oh,
came
that's
back.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, actually, it did come back 2 years later, and then I started over again because I gotten lazy. And
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's, yeah.
you know how that works.
Yeah. Yep.
That human thing, man. Yeah.
It's like earlier when I was telling you how like, oh, I stopped using an inhaler and now I need to
And
get
now you're
back on it.
coughing and you
Yeah.
need an inhaler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that psychic ability works a similar way. If you're not using it, then could that go away as well?
No. I mean, it can. You can turn it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away by neglect, I don't think. At least it didn't for me.
Because it just kept going on.
It
and
just kept
on.
going. I mean, the
Yeah.
messages just kept coming, and it was really starting to drive me crazy.
So it's kind of the opposite for you, that you needed a way to turn it off
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't paying attention to it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people say, well, I'm ignoring it so it doesn't happen. And what that means is that they have found a way to turn off its access to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it didn't work that way for me because I didn't know enough to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how long have you been going to like conventions and doing readings and stuff like that?
Early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 20 years. Well, probably I think I started actually going to like wellness fairs and psychic fairs and that sort of thing probably around 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, but I started a business with Reiki and teaching meditation
Oh.
in 2000. So it just kind of developed into that.
Okay. And do you still do Reiki?
Not really. I mean,
No.
it comes through, but I don't do it intentionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you do so many readings, probably, right?
Well, I've had a number of health crises,
Sure.
and after the last one, I just decided I don't want to do hands-on healing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I still do it sometimes, but not usually. And I
Yeah.
don't do it professionally at all. It's like for people, like friends or family or, pets,
Right.
but I really wanted to focus on the spiritual at that point.
Sure. You wrote 2 books?
Yes.
And what are the names of them?
Intuitive You, Psychic and Personal Development. It is the textbook for my class, Intuitive You,
Sure.
at least for the first part of it. And the second one is Wisdom for the Age of Ascension. And that one is, I believe it's 150 individual meditations that you can read.
Okay.
Things to meditate on, basically.
Okay, so it's like a workbook.
It's like a daily reader.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you've seen like those prayer books that have a different page for every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, only I didn't do the full year.
Okay, yeah. And then your second book, what's that one?
That is the second book.
Oh, what's the first one?
The first one was Intuitive You.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so and then the second one is Wisdom for the Age of Ascension.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's that one about?
That is the one that's got the individual
Oh,
pages for meditation.
okay.
Yeah.
You wrote a book on your contact with a group of entities called Bartholomew?
Yeah, it wasn't well edited, so
Oh.
I try to pretend that one doesn't exist.
Oh,
But
got
if
it.
if you're interested, it somehow got on Amazon. I didn't put it there. I don't know how it got there, but
Oh, it got on Amazon.
it's on Amazon. It's
Yeah.
listed with my other books, but it's just not very well edited.
What's wrong with the editing?
I didn't know what I was doing when I
Sure.
wrote it. It was my first book, and I don't typically mention that one.
Oh,
But
okay.
it is, what was it called? Jeez, I don't even remember. I don't know, but I wrote it with Bartholomew. The whole thing is channeled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you're gonna kill me, but I need to get a cough drop.
No, you're good.
So, this group of entities, and it's a group of entities, right?
Yes.
Bartholomew.
Yes.
Now, for somebody like myself, it's hard to conceive of a group of beings that are just one, correct? So how
Yeah.
how does that work?
It's like a hive mind, I guess.
Okay.
If you want to look at it in a way that's easier for the human brain to digest, it's like Bartholomew is the spokesperson for the group.
Okay.
Yeah, if that works better for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting, Bartholomew. It's such a like a human name.
Yeah.
Why did he name himself that?
I have no idea. When they I guess,
right,
first
yeah.
came through, I was teaching a women's abundance group, and it was in my living room, thank goodness. But there was a room full of women. They have all got their notebooks out, and I'm trying to get this message across, and they're talking to me and trying to get it across, and then they started nudging my shoulder, like, move over. I'm like, no, I'm not moving over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually I just got pushed out. And 45 minutes later, I opened my eyes to a room full of women going. So I knew something had happened. I had no memory of what happened. I had no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know 45 minutes had passed.
Oh, so you were channeling these beings,
Yes.
and okay.
And I'd never trans-channeled before.
Wow.
So it just kind of came out like that. And apparently they told the ladies that they were talking to that their name was Bartholomew.
Okay.
And that's how the group wanted to be addressed, I guess.
And what message did they have?
God, I don't even remember. We were doing a book study
Okay.
on abundance, and they weren't quite grasping the concept of how to put the intention out and let go of it.
Okay. Sure.
They were struggling with that.
Well, it's interesting that you were doing a study on abundance,
Mm-hmm.
and we both know Esther Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
She is a channeler as well,
Right.
and she channels a being known as, or a group of beings known as Abraham,
Yes.
and who actually developed the concept of the law of attraction that has to do with abundance.
That's funny because the law of attraction is one of 12 universal laws,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually number 7.
It's number 7.
It's number 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are many more. There are 6 laws before that. and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I know that there's like the law of oneness, and I'm not giving them in order.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a law of oneness, there's a law of balance. They call it the law of gender, but it just means balancing the male and female energies.
Sure.
There's, wow, I don't even remember. Like it's in my book, and I don't remember.
No, I mean, there's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Because I know, because I read Esther Hicks' work.
Okay.
And
Ask and It Is Given.
Yes.
That was a really good book.
Yeah, that one. And then there's one, and I don't think it's by Esther Hicks, but it's called Working with the Law.
Okay.
Now it's kind of what it is. It's like an offshoot or continuation of the work of Abraham.
Okay.
And it's basically, it breaks down all the 12 laws and like what each one does. It's kind of just like a companion book.
Right.
So I did that one as well. What's really interesting is that a lot of these entities, they seem to talk a lot about abundance.
Because that's the questions the humans are asking.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
They're answering the questions that the humans are asking.
Yeah. I want to know about the other 11. What's going on? You know, I want to read books on those.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think that there are books on those, but they usually put all 12 laws in the same book.
Well, I just gave you 11 books right now.
No, I know you did, and I've already got 2 started. So,
are you working on another book?
I
right
am
now?
working on 2 other books right now.
Oh, which one? What are they about?
Intuitive You, the next level.
Okay.
So it's a more advanced level of the one that's already out.
I'm definitely gonna read it, and then you'll come back and promote it if you want. So that'd be awesome. You said that you were doing a radio show. How long were you doing that radio show for?
2 years, I think.
For 2 years?
I think it was 2 years.
And it was paranormal related?
Yeah, well, I had Be the Change. So that was the name of my show.
Okay, yeah.
And so I interviewed a lot of different people, paranormal, cryptid, healers, readers.
Yep.
I have some YouTube shows that I'm doing now that are kind of based the same way as that. You know, Paramystic Kristina is kind of based off of Be the Change. It's similar kind of a format. That's the word I'm looking for. Format.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's such a funny transition, right? It's like, you know, if you wanted to get your voice heard, you go to radio, but now everybody's doing a podcast.
Now everybody's doing podcasts.
Yeah. Everybody's doing a podcast, and it's nice because it's accessible.
It
right?
is accessible.
Yeah, and anybody could do it. You know, somebody that doesn't know anything about anything like myself could just get on here and
just start talking
and talk to great people. You know.
Well, you've been on my show.
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh no, I was gonna say that. Yeah, no, I definitely think podcasts are definitely the future when it comes to gaining information about stuff that's going on today.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some that have bias, there's some that don't. But when like you really find that one podcast that just like tells you like it is, it's like you can't really get that anywhere else now, like in mainstream media or like in the radio.
Yeah.
Anything. I just wanted to chime in because this subject is very interesting to me. Sorry, continue.
No, it's true though, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like we said, like it's, you know, it's the future, and I'm always curious about thinking like far into the future. Like, will podcasts ever go away and like something else comes about?
Probably.
Right? I mean, it's like.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it's like everything that if it doesn't grow, it dies, right? Like everything has to grow. Everything has to change and evolve.
Yeah.
So what is it going to evolve into? I don't know. But I was going to address what Mike said in that podcasts are very much like books. You get the author's opinion.
That's a good
you
point.
get the flavor of the author's opinion, whether they actually say the opinion or not.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and they could be wrong too.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Anybody could publish a book.
Anybody can publish a book. Self-publishing and podcasting, man. That is that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And I think that there are ups and downs to both.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point is, don't listen to me, everybody. Don't listen to me for any advice or anything, because I know nothing.
That is not true, but we'll just skip right over that.
You were doing the radio show for about 2 years. Then you switched
Yeah.
over to podcast.
I had
podcasting.
stopped for a while after that.
Sure.
But then the radio station closed down. And
okay.
that's why I stopped doing it, because the radio station closed down. But
Yeah.
it was, I think, a month shy of 2 years when
Mhm.
that happened. And I didn't really do any kind of broadcasting. I mean, I was doing interviews on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure how it came about. But Rez and I started talking. I met him at Spirits in the Spring, the first Spirits in the Spring at Broadhead Manor.
Okay.
And we started talking about doing a podcast, and that's where Red Road Paranormal came from.
Yeah.
So we did that one for a while, and I have a friend named Bobby who I go out to breakfast with. Literally, we go out to breakfast. That's where the name came from.
Okay.
Okay. But we realized that when we were in restaurants and we were talking, other people around us stopped talking and were just listening to us. And I'm like,
Nosy.
maybe if we're that interesting, maybe we should do a podcast.
Yeah.
And it took me a year to talk her into it. But yeah, so now we have Breakfast with Bobby. And then I was contacted by someone out of England who looked me up on Facebook, had seen me on some other stuff on YouTube, and said, I really want your voice on my radio station.
Oh, wow.
And that's where Paramystic Kristina came from.
Paramystic Kristina. I like that.
Yeah. Paranormal and mystical.
So that's and that's based out of you said England?
Well, that's where it started, yeah.
Okay.
But I've just been putting it on YouTube.
Oh, that's
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've just been putting it on YouTube at this point.
Okay.
There's still some stuff that they're working out on that end,
Yeah.
as far as, I don't know, FCC rules or whatever.
Right.
But yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you,
Mhm.
and I asked you this before we recorded, so people
Yeah.
don't think I'm rude or anything. But if you're able to give us a little bit of a channeling.
Okay. Do you have a couple
Yeah.
questions ready?
I will.
Okay. So when I go into trance, it's going to be a couple of minutes of dead air. So you're just going to have to keep talking to yourself out loud or something. I don't know.
Okay. It's when you first go into it, or after
Mhm.
each question, you mean? Or-
When I first go into it, because I have to kind of go into a meditative trance.
okay.
So
All right. Let's
all right, I'll
do
see
it,
you,
and
I'll see you when I get back.
I'll see you on the other side.
All right.
We're still here, and we are waiting for Kristina Bloom to channel an entity, and hopefully that entity is nice to me, and hopefully they don't see me. Yeah, yeah. Actually, like Mike said, hopefully they don't crawl up the ceiling or throw me around. You know, it's childhood all over again. I don't need that. You know. But
Question on the Galactic Federation.
yeah, well, that's a given, sir. Yes. For those that are not familiar, the Galactic Federation is a family of various alien species. By the way, Rob, when you said that, I don't think they probably got you that on the mic.
Oh.
So, go ahead, Rob. Say it again.
I asked him to ask a question about the Galactic Federation.
That's Rob off camera. Wanted me to ask about the Galactic Federation, if something like that even comes through, right? So it needs to be relevant to who they are or where they come from, things like that. And Mike, you have your questions ready?
I need to think of them.
You got
I
this.
wasn't prepared for this.
You know, you better be prepared, because
I prepared. I studied.
Oh,
after this, you're up in the chair. You're up in the hot seat, Mike.
oh boy.
Yeah. One of these days, everybody, I'll get Mike and Rob to come up and be interviewed and grilled. Interrogated, I should say. Just interrogated.
I think you were right with grilled.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of
Yeah.
grilled every time
Yeah.
we hang out, though, so
We're gonna
that wouldn't be new. But I mean, interrogated would probably be new.
we're gonna look through your search history.
I can print it out for you.
That's what the podcast will be about, actually.
Yeah.
Just your search history. So,
Good evening.
good evening. Thank you for being here with us. Can I ask you what your
You're
name is?
welcome. Yes. My name is Urach. I am a member of the Pleiadian High Council.
The Pleiadian High Council. And I'm so sorry. What's your name again?
Urach.
Urach. Am I saying that correct?
Close enough.
Okay. So when you're communicating with us, where are you at right now?
I am in my own home in the Pleiadian star cluster. And I am, as you would call, astral traveling
Now,
to Kristina, as she has asked me to come through for you this evening.
I appreciate that. Do you usually contact Kristina?
Many times we do,
And
because she is very often in touch with the people that we are trying to get messages to.
and what is usually the Pleiadian message for humanity?
Have hope. We are monitoring, along with other species, we are monitoring your planet in an attempt to help you all survive. We are very much invested in Earth surviving and humanity surviving, and we are thus invested because you are the pinnacle of spiritual evolution as a whole. And to our surprise, very few of you are actually aware of this. You are, as Abraham would say, on the leading edge of consciousness. It is a very difficult thing to come into a dense body such as yours, such as all of yours, a heavy body that can feel pain, that can feel tired. Many of us, when we take our physical forms, and we will be taking our physical forms and appearing to you sooner than you might expect as a whole. But when we do not feel the pain that you often feel, and we do not feel the fatigue that the human body feels, because our bodies are not as physically dense, even though we are all made of the same basic ingredients, I guess. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I appreciate it. There's a lot of talk right now with UFOs and disclosure. Do you know what's going on? Is there going to be a disclosure soon?
Oh, there has been disclosure many times, over and over and over. And we are somewhat amused by humans because someone can show you video, someone can show you photographs of beings, of crafts that they have seen, and 98% of humans will go, that's not real.
Sure.
But we have been disclosing for many years that the issue comes with your governments who want to take control of us, and that also is laughable because they cannot. They cannot take control of
Right.
us. Any of us.
I appreciate that answer. I don't want to keep you too long. Rob or Mike, do you have any questions?
Yeah, it's Rob. Would you be able to explain the Galactic Federation just a little bit for us?
Yes. If you consider something like your own United Nations, that is similar to the Galactic Federation, where we are invested in keeping peace throughout the multiverse, actually, because it involves 3 different universes. And it is very much like your own United Nations.
So this Galactic Federation, are they working to? This is what I've heard and what I've read, that they are giving humanity a path to spiritual evolution. Is that true?
Yes. We are at this point much more concerned about giving humanity a path to peace and not killing each other.
Sure. Well, thank you for your time. And,
Thank
you know,
I got one question.
oh,
too.
Mike
Yes.
has a question.
Yeah. Could you
Please.
describe your physical form?
Oh, that's a good
Like
question.
what that would look like? Because there's a lot of speculation here on Earth about like what extraterrestrials, if you would consider yourself that. I don't know if that's the correct term.
From your perspective, yes, we are
Okay,
extraterrestrials.
yeah. From like a human perspective,
yes.
sure. There's like the little gray men. There's ones with like big head. There's so many fascinations about like what they could look like. So could you describe what, in like the best detail you could, what your physical form is?
Yes. My people tend to be tall and thin. We are able to, what you would probably call shapeshift. We can change our forms to some degree. We have developed the ability to raise our energy to the point where you cannot see us. So from your perspective, we can go invisible. There are Pleiadians and there are Pleiarans, and there is confusion, apparently, because we are two separate races, although we have an alliance and we are friends, and everyone is a relative of some sort, but they are closely related to us, only they look more human than we do. They look pale, I guess, skin, as you would consider. Many of them are blonde and have large blue eyes. They are very often considered to be angels, because that is the way that human minds perceive them. My particular species has more of the blue-green skin tones, and we are typically very thin. We do look humanoid, but our facial features do not vary as much as humans do.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you
Thank you.
taking the time to speak with us. We'll let you go, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let me know when you're back, Kristina. But that was awesome.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
My throat is suddenly dry. That's weird. Okay. Oh, right.
And you're back.
And I'm back.
And you're back.
Yes.
How was that for you?
I very much enjoy when they visit. Actually, Urok is another aspect of my soul in a different
It was
place.
Urok. I was trying to think of the
Urok.
name.
Yeah.
Urok.
It's kind of a rolled R. It's kind of a Urok.
Oh, I can't roll my
Yeah.
R's. I'm Mexican, but I cannot roll my R's. I would
How'd that happen?
look. I'll tell the entity. like,
Poser.
your name is Urok. That's it.
Urok.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like she's good with that. She has more of a feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes Igok comes through. He's a little higher on the hierarchy, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Of the Pleiadian Council.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was really cool, and I would I'm fascinated by channeling. I've been actually delving into like scientific research in channeling,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting because like
Yeah.
they put channelers and mediums on they hook them up in like a
Mhm.
laboratory and put they do these EKG readings.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've found is that when individuals are channeling, they even though they're wide awake, they are accessing the part of their brain they would when they would be sleeping in a
Mhm.
deep sleep. So
Like a theta state.
theta,
yeah.
exactly.
It's a theta
Yeah,
state.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
Do you want to tell us where we could find you? I know you have a couple different programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3 different YouTube channels. We have Red Road Paranormal, Breakfast with Bobby, and Paramystic Kristina. All of those are on YouTube. If you want to contact me directly, there is a form on my website where you can just email me. You can request a private appointment, a private reading. All of that is on there. My books, 2 of my books are for sale on my website. There's a calendar on my website that tells you all the cool stuff I'm doing. So yeah, all of that is on there. You can find me on Facebook at Kristina Bloom, your spiritual advisor, or Kristina L. Bloom, spiritual advisor. One's a business page, one's a group.
And your website is KristinaBloom.com?
KristinaBloom.com.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Kristina with a K, Bloom with 2 O's.
That's important.
That's
Yes.
important, yes. And I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
So you're everywhere.
Pretty
you are
much.
everywhere.
Everywhere but X.
You're, okay, so
Yeah.
everywhere but X.
Yeah.
OnlyFans. We could find you
No,
on
no,
OnlyFans.
no, no. I'm
Oh,
not
no,
on
not
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Oh, okay. Sorry,
No,
guys.
I am well past that prime.
Oh, I don't know. Kristina, thank
So,
you so much
thank
for
you.
coming, and this was excellent, and I appreciate you taking your time to talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care.